This morning, the NASDAQ was once again crashing on the Trump-inflicted recession. Donald Trump started his disastrous morning by trying to social media post it all away. He posts this: global companies explore U.S. expansion for growth and stability. And he just lists a number of companies with random numbers in the billions next to the company name. So rather than talking about the actual economy, he's just listing companies and numbers because he knows he's tanking the economy. Oh yeah, this morning he's also bragging about the number of executive orders that he signed. This is what he posted: 107 executive orders signed in 67 days, more than any president in history. And then there's this chart. I'm not sure why you actually need a chart to show that 107 is more than other numbers that are less than 107. Yes, Donald, we know you signed executive orders, like invoking the authority of a dictator, like attacking random law firms that were mean to you, like destroying and trying to dismantle the Department of Education. Yes, we're aware. We don't need that chart or graphs to tell us what 107 it is. We know the destruction you and Doge and Musk have caused to the United States of America, which may be irreparable. By the way, Donald Trump is also panicking this morning because there are there's multiple major special elections, 2 states that are really being focused on in these critical elections. Special elections that are taking place in Florida. And particularly, we're looking at all of them. We're looking at the 6th congressional district there, where the Democrat Josh Wheel looks like he could potentially defeat Randy Fine. That's who Donald Trump's posting about here. And then, of course, you also have the Wisconsin Supreme Court race on Tuesday, where the MAGA Doge authoritarian candidate Brad Schimmel is running against the pro-democracy candidate Susan Crawford. Here's Donald Trump's post from moments ago. America First patriot Randy Fine is running to represent the wonderful people of Florida's 6th congressional district. Wow, wow, wow. Lots of whining in the post. But Trump is terrified that MAGA can lose this plus 30 district in Florida that was previously held by Mike Walls, the national security advisor, who was the one who leaked all of the classified information along with Pete Hegseth and others on that Signal text message thread where they invited the Atlantic editor-in-chief, Jeffrey Goldberg, on it. We're seeing a lot of economic data like this. Here's where charts are actually helpful, Donald, when you're talking about trillions, not the number 107. JP Morgan Chase is calling what we're seeing right now in the economy, quote, the fastest momentum unwind in 40 years, erasing 2 years worth of gains and accelerated investors' late cycle positioning into a defensive posture. What was happening in the past 2 years? Oh, that's right. Former President Biden was in charge and he was actually creating jobs and building infrastructure and reducing inflation. Oh, but then Donald Trump and the MAGA ecosystem and corporate news said, oh, actually all that good data, all of the trending in the right direction stuff was absolutely terrible. You know, Donald Trump's threats of tariffs and Liberation Day, which he says Tuesday, where he's going to tariff the entire world, even though Trump doesn't know what stagflation even is and clearly doesn't know what tariffs are because he and his team are out there saying, you know, tariffs are tax cuts. Yay. Tariffs are tax cuts, which they're not. Well, now there's a lot of alliances that are forming throughout the world that you never thought would form before. So, for example, South Korea, China, and Japan working on a unified response. South Korea, China, and Japan, a unified response to Trump's tariffs, and they're agreeing to promote regional trade as Trump tariffs loom. Remember early last week, I predicted this because I did an interview with Rahm Emanuel, who was the former ambassador to Japan. So when you get the best data, you're able to forecast what you think things are going to, what things are going to happen. Also, we predicted this as well, that the U.S. travel industry was going to be utterly destroyed. U.S. travel warnings could cost tourism industry $120 billion. fueled by all of these travel warnings that are now going up across the world based on the dangerous policies in the U.S. The fact that the U.S. is sending people abroad into ICE detention centers, or people could end up in concentration camps in El Salvador, and also just the aggressiveness in trade wars, and in my view, actual threatening of war against places like Canada and Europe and elsewhere. People don't want to travel to the United States right now. Canada's boycott against the U.S. is going strong. This Newsweek article still uses this 10% number. They speak to experts who go, if there's a 10% decline in travel, that can cause $120 billion to the tourism industry. Let me be clear. It's going to be closer to 40, 50%. As I said, the Canadian boycott's going to be closer to 75, 80%. Unless Canadians have to be in the U.S. for family or something that's emergency, they're not coming to the United States right now. I saw a lot of data as well from the Las Vegas travel bureaus. Vegas is getting, more needs to be discussed on this, and maybe I'll do a video for tomorrow morning. Vegas is getting absolutely decimated as well. And I previously reported on this, but it bears repeating this morning as well. Goldman Sachs is seeing a significant GDP contraction, which follows the Atlanta Federal Reserve predicting a 2.8% contraction, negative 2.8%. The Dallas Federal Survey response, Fed response, they're saying, enough with this tariffs BS, Trump. Make a decision of what you want. Stop this chaos. You're gutting and destroying the economy. Should highlight as well, I did a whole video on this last night, but Elon Musk handing out $1 million checks to people in Wisconsin, trying to get them to vote for the MAGA Doge candidate. Elon Musk and their MAGA Doge candidate, this guy Brad Schimmel, what they're looking to do to Wisconsin is to ruin it. They want to destroy Wisconsin. They hate Wisconsin the same way they hate the United States and the federal government. And the same thing that Doge did at the federal level, they want to make Wisconsin suffer extra. That's one of Elon Musk's and Trump's goals, to make people in Wisconsin have the most suffering. Why else would they do? You go, oh, Ben, you're being hyperbolic. No, I'm not. That's what they want. These are sick people, and we need to use accurate language for what they're doing. So they want their MAGA Trump candidate who dresses up like Brad Schimmel dresses up like Trump for Halloween. I'm not making this up. He wears Trump MAGA shirts and goes, I love Jesus. I love Trump. This is the guy they want in the Supreme Court to destroy the lives of people in Wisconsin. That election is April 1st. This came this morning as well. Greenland's incoming prime minister says the visit of Denmark's prime minister is one we have been wishing for, and one that I personally very much look forward to. So a very different welcome for the Denmark prime minister than, let's say, J.D. Vance received right there. And then we're also hearing stories like this morning as well. Republicans right now are scrambling to shield their states from Trump's next wave of tariffs. They realize that their states are going to get destroyed. Here, by the way, is a Republican mayor of Rochester Hills, Michigan. He was on CNN this morning, as Aaron Rupert says, sounding the alarm about the negative impact Trump tariffs are having and the uncertainty around them on his community. Here, play this clip.
What are you planning for?
Well, I've been talking to a lot of my businesses, my business community, to try to find out what they're doing. And I mean, the scenario is pretty simple. At least what most people think is, higher tariffs lead to higher cost leads to lower demand leads to lower production. And ultimately, that's where it becomes a mayor's issue. Lower production and lower demand means job loss. And that really is a significant issue. We've gone through really challenging times in Southeast Michigan before. And I'm not sure, these are just negotiation tactics. I hope the president and his team are able to move quickly. I was pleased that he had a very positive meeting with the prime minister at the end of last week. But the uncertainty, as you see the markets reacting to it, it's daunting. It's impossible to prepare.
You think this could lead to job losses in Rochester Hills?
I think it could very quickly. I think most of the folks I'm talking to say, they can survive this kind of back and forth for about maybe 30 days. They've been preparing to try to have supply here, to try to handle supply chains. But if this is something that we're waiting for jobs to repatriate back to the United States, we know that takes, that's a great and wonderful plan. We're all supportive of that. But that can take 24 to 36 months. And most companies wouldn't be operating at the same levels they are now if you have this tariff environment for 2 or 3 years. It simply couldn't be the same.
Yeah, talk to me more about.
And here's what Donald Trump had to say about stagflation. Trump doesn't even know what stagflation is.
Now, is that something that you're worried about, given the impact of your efforts to readjust the economy?
I haven't heard that term in years. No, I don't know anything about it.
By the way, here's Ohio Senator Houston on Trump saying he might run for a third term this morning. Let's play this clip.
Senator, how do you feel about the president openly talking about a third term in the context of either changing the Constitution itself or potentially in the context of putting forth I don't know if it'd be a straw man, but, putting forth a Vance to then give him the presidency later?
The president was responding to a question. He wasn't advocating.
Finally, we heard from Putin this morning. The Kremlin said Donald Trump made some statement that he was pissed off with Putin. And then Putin's response was, we continue to work on building bilateral relations on Ukraine settlement ideas. And he said that there'll be no Putin and Trump calls scheduled so far this week. And they use the term bilateral to mean we're happy to speak with Trump on our terms. We're not going to do a call this week. We'll speak to Trump when we want to, not multilateral or multipolar or trilateral, bilateral, meaning we'll talk to you when we want to talk to you one-on-one, and we're going to cut Europe out and Ukraine out. That's what Putin is saying there in the message he's sending, because Putin doesn't want peace. Zelensky's already agreed to an unconditional ceasefire. That's what's going on this morning. We'll keep you posted with more. Hit subscribe. Help us get to 5 million subscribers.
Can't get enough Meidas? Check out the Meidas Plus Substack for ad-free articles, reports, podcasts, daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, and more. Sign up for free now at MeidasPlus.com.